I think so. I think I do agree with that. So when I think about the issue of what you mentioned in your question about equality, I'm not a fan of worrying about equality. I'm a fan of worrying about what's equitable. And what's equitable is not necessarily equal. And I'll tell you a quick story that brings that out. One of the most interesting experiments in economics today is something called the ultimatum game. In this game, a researcher has $10 to distribute between two players who are facing each other on a computer screen. They've never met each other. They will never meet each other. So they're playing anonymously. And when the researcher randomly picks who the proposer is, the proposer gets to say how they would divide the $10, as in, I'll keep 6 for me and give 4 to you. Well, the person on the other end of the computer screen is the responder. They get to say, I accept or I reject. And in that kind of a setting, what standard economic theory would say is, well, anybody who's in a parking lot of a building, you look down and you see a dollar bill lying on the ground. Wouldn't you bend over and pick up a dollar bill? Sure. So that's all it's going to take for me to get you to agree with me is a dollar bill. So if I'm given the choice of how to divide $10, I'm going to offer to you, Doug, I'm going to give you $1. And because you'll bend over to pick up $1, you'll press on the computer screen, yeah, I want $1, because if you don't agree, neither of us gets anything. So you'd rather have $1 than nothing. Except experiment after experiment all over the world has found people won't go along with that. Their moral sentiments are enraged. Their feelings about right and wrong. That when this money comes from heaven, like manna from heaven, from the researcher, then something closer to equality is the right thing to do. And in experiments, most people end up divvying it up 50-50. Now, so that gets to basic human nature about equality under certain circumstances. And if you're 2 teenage boys and your parents give you a raise, an allowance that's higher than mine, that's not equal, and I'm going to be enraged. I'm going to be really angry. But let's change the scenario in the ultimatum game. Suppose instead of the researcher randomly picking who's the proposer, suppose that you, Doug, have to go out and do some work. And as a consequence of your hard work, you earn the right to be the proposer. Well, now we're not expecting 50-50. You earned that right, so something more like $8 for you and 2 for me now sounds a lot fairer. And that's what people respond to, and they will, in fact, in the experiments, go along with that because you earned that right. Just as 2 brothers and one of the brothers goes out and mows the grass, of course they should get a higher allowance. So in thinking about economic justice or social justice, it isn't equality that's really the fundamental issue, I don't think. It's about equitable nature of the division. On another level, it is about equality of opportunity, which is a whole nother thing because we talk about infants or children being innocent and not able to demonstrate any of the virtues of hard work or saving or anything that would be expected of them. And yet infants need food, medicine, education, all of these kind of things. So there is more of an instinct for equality when one of these groups is in a different situation like that.